This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
What up, no? It is another Tuesday. This is Knockouts and 3 Counts. We are back, and we've got a lot to talk about, as you can tell from the title. We've got everything from AEW. We've got everything from the fights that went down. We've got the passing of Sabu. We've got Backlash. There's the UFC, the new fights that have been announced, dude. All kinds of stuff that we got to talk about. J-Bone, how you doing on a Tuesday, bro?
I'm good, man. Sad to hear the news about Sabu. Had a good weekend of wrestling and all that, but you know, sometimes the sad news overshadows all else, man. So sad weekend for the wrestling world, but it is what it is, man. We're left with a lot of memories of Sabu.
Absolutely, man. Reactions. I need immediate reactions to Cheeto Vera pullout of Mario Batista bout. Ooh, I mean, that seems to be happening a lot in MMA, man. I mean, that's I mean, that's a bummer that fight won't happen, but Mario Batista is the one they threw in there with Jose Aldo before this fight he had happened. So, I mean, with that being said, I'm sure they're going to give Batista either a good replacement or, you know, they'll just run back the thing with Cheeto after that. But we've got plenty to talk about in the fights here in a second regarding.
I always want to see him fight. Anytime his fights pop up, Cheeto Vera, I'm like excited. So I hate to see him have to pull out of a fight.
Hell yeah. Dude, we got a lot to talk about on the MMA end as well, as far as you've got Duplessis and Hamzat going to be in Chicago. You got, like he said, Patchy Mix is incoming, which I'm really excited about that. I was telling you about that before we went live. You've got Charles Oliveira and Ilia Topuria fighting for the now vacant lightweight championship. What happens with Islam Makachev? We're going to get to all that in a minute when Corey hops in here. But, dude, let's start off with Sabu. When I say Sabu, what are your overall your first memory or overall thoughts of it, and what are your thoughts on his contributions?
You can't think of ECW without thinking of Sabu, man. He was an ECW original and maybe one of the most violent. You know, first thing I think about is his rivalry with Raven, Sandman, tagging up with RVD, Bill Alfonso being there. You know, that was like the early like ECW stuff, man. That introduced us, you know, our age group into hardcore. So just the way he carried himself and the man being a legend all through, you know, even when he came into WWE, it was a big deal, man. And then even after that, you know, wrestling in the indies, making sure guys were good in the indies. He did a lot for the indie wrestling world. Even most recent, wrestling Joey Janela, that does a lot for guys coming up, you know what I mean? And so he paid his dues in the wrestling world, man. And sad to see him go out. But like I said, we're left with a lot of hardcore memories from that man. And that's just something that goes unmatched in the wrestling world, man.
Hey, man, I couldn't agree more. I watched ECW when I first saw ECW, bro. It was on WADL. Like, come on midnight. At midnight, I forgot what day it was. Like, and Corey's joining us now. We're talking about the passing of Sabu. And, yeah, man, like I said, I remember first seeing ECW when it would come on WADL back in the day at, like, midnight. You know what I mean? And you're seeing it, like, in between shows, or then sometimes it would come on Saturdays on, like, a different time. But, like, Sabu was some of the wildest shit I've ever seen in a wrestling ring, bar none.
I don't know how far deep you guys are into the
dude, even when he came into WWE,
he was like as somebody that was like the era where I was a younger fan starting to pay attention, and like that's such a bygone era of just entertainment and wrestling in general. Like that's what I feel like the
Mhm.
biggest thing like with me and this whole thing is like the whole like playing to stereotypes and like having fun with it and stuff like that. You don't see that anywhere in the entertainment world like it used to be such a, like main thing. And ultimately, like, I mean, I didn't follow, his whole wrestling career and stuff like that, but that was the biggest thing that like continuing to see like references and stuff of him throughout the years and stuff. It's like
Yeah.
wild to me that, some dude named Terry ended up, like being this like universal figure for
Yeah.
like, it's a bygone era of entertainment. It is like,
Yeah. And one thing about Sabu, man, it's like you never, and any stories you hear, anything you see, anything that happens, it's like, holy crap, that was wild. It's like, okay, yeah, but it's Sabu. I'm not surprised at all that he just jumped from a chair to the top rope and then did a leg drop onto the announcer table on John Cena. You know what I mean? Like that dude would literally do anything and regret nothing. And he was Sabu to the very end, dude. Still in his very last match, Kyle, you were there all the way to his
That
very last match. Sabu
like
was
being
Sabu
there for
all the
that,
way
dude.
to the end.
So being there for that is something in and of itself. Another big thing for me, even though it was obviously much later in the ECW trajectory, bro, is the rise and fall of ECW DVD. I don't know how many of you guys remember that, but I
I
watched
have
that
that.
thing a lot of times, dude. And Sabu, especially being from Michigan, with Sabu basically being from here, you got his uncle, the Sheik, you got his contributions with how they helped Rob Van Dam and all these other guys, man. It's just crazy that I feel like he never really got to do his just due that he should have had. Like when you look at the feuds with like him and Taz, he was the guy that really introduced putting people through tables in wrestling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He was
There's
the
just so
king
many
of the,
things.
the lights out like surprise
Lights
too. You
on,
know what
lights
I
off
mean?
was him.
Yeah, dude. That was Sabu all the way, bro.
It's just wild, bro. So many matches.
I was just telling Corey the on Raw when he jumped from the chair to the top rope with the leg drop on John Cena on the announcer's table. Like that was something incredible, but at the same time, we're just like, you know what? That's just Sabu, bro. He's
How
just
about when
crazy like that.
How about when he fell off the Raw when ECW invaded WWF and the set used to be the old RAW and he's on
Oh
top of
yeah,
the A and goes
yeah,
to jump and the A like tips forward and so
yeah.
he
He
just
kind of
falls
bit it.
forward onto the guys that are down there, dude. Just like Sabu was one of a kind, dude. I
Yeah,
got to hang out with him a few times. I'm glad that I got to be at his last match. It was wild to see him come out, see the Sandman come out through the arena with the Enter Sandman entrance. That was a dope thing to be at live. I think that was the first time I've ever been in the building for that. Like I said, I just feel like there's a lot of things that Sabu helped originate. You know what I mean? That I feel like he didn't really get the credit for what it was. And J-Bone, for you being a wrestling guy too, can you imagine what the run of Sabu in WWE would have been like if he
no,
would have if he wouldn't have gotten in trouble when him and RVD got popped, like
yeah,
just when they were starting to get
yeah.
hot, like it would have been nuts, dude.
Well, you know what's crazy is he was used as like a fearful tactic, especially when ECW was kind of coming into WWE. We still like ECW was watered down ECW, but we still were using Sabu as like the fearful tactic. Like they put him against John Cena on Raw, and that's saying something. That was a man to be feared in the ring, and everybody knew it, man. And his as much as we would want more for Sabu when it was going on in WWE, his legacy was never tarnished. He was still as violent as ever. So I just feel like that alone, man, you can't say that about a lot of people. Sabu's legacy was never tarnished in the ring for me personally. People can say what they want outside the ring, who he was outside the ring, and his demons he had is what it is. Ring work alone, one of the greatest.
Shout out to Mizian Smith, man. Shout out to all of you guys watching. Make sure you guys check out the Motor City Championship Wrestling Con going down August 16th and 17th. I'm going to be doing a panel in there. I'll be interviewing a bunch of people from The Godfather to Teddy Long and who knows what else. You got to make sure you get your tickets. Make sure you come check out that shit live. Shout out to them. Shout out to the Ring Review Podcast, Houston the Genius. I just seen you guys at AEW. Which that's as good a time as any to kind of transition into that. Art, what up, though? We were just talking about our memories of Sabu. Feel free to drop some in the comments. Yeah, dude, AEW was a blast. Shout out to AEW for having us at the D-Man Foundation, getting to be part of that recording session for some of the men and women there with special needs and stuff like that, and getting a chance to chop it up with Swerve, which if you guys are new here, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or any of those, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You can go back and check out the full Swerve interview that's up on YouTube. It was good to get to chop it up with him, man. He remembered the tattoo on my arm from when we were in Jacksonville a few years ago. You know, we talked about the Evolve days and his feud with Matt Riddle. We talked about you know, him getting to work with the D-Man Foundation and the superpowers of pro wrestling. We also talked about obviously some of what's going on in AEW. Hear his thoughts about the big cage match that's going down in AEW in Chicago. Coming up here this week with Samoa Joe and Moxley. I appreciate you. Make sure you guys check that out if you didn't get to see that one. Because it's interesting timing with them being in Chicago, because I don't know if you saw J-Bone, but they just announced a residency at the Aragon Ballroom, the same as they got coming up in Philly with the ECW Arena.
I like that. Chicago's pretty close. I feel like that's a trip that's makeable.
I mean, I'm always trying to get you out of the house. So, I mean,
Chicago's super cool. You know, well, I don't know if I like Chicago more than Vegas, but
hey, I'm with it. Let's make it happen. I'm down with a good time. Let's make it happen. If you guys are watching this, make sure you like it, share it, retweet it. Make sure you let everybody know. If you guys are got any thoughts on the topics, please let us know in the comments.
I want to see everybody's thoughts on Sabu's like best moments. You guys could
right, dude. I want to know. I want to hear some Sabu stories. Feel free to drop those throughout the show.
I'm pretty sure he's he's featured on the Dark Side of the Ring tonight, I believe, right?
I've been seeing clips and videos about it. I'm not sure if that's tonight's episode, but I'm definitely gonna be checking out. Dark Side of the Ring is like one of my favorite things. I love watching that show.
Yeah. I think the original Sheik episode might be tonight.
Bro, the Billy Jack Haynes ones from last week was fucked up.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Bro,
Wait,
that one
last week I meant to ask you your thoughts on Lights Out for
Corey lost power. It's Sabu,
bro.
It's Sabu.
You know what I mean?
It's Sabu. Where's Sabu at?
Kyle, I meant to ask you your thoughts on AEW being at the Masonic.
Corey don't know. That's Sabu.
I meant to ask you your thoughts on AEW being at the Masonic. What do you think of the venue?
Dude, I had a blast, dude. I mean, I've said this for a while. If AEW's numbers as far as attendance aren't as good as they were, I'd rather see them do buildings like that. And I told you when I got to work Mitten Muay Thai, which shout out to Mitten Muay Thai. Hopefully I'll be back on the mic for them soon. That's a dope ass building to be in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it was not cold in there.
Oh yeah, dude, it was definitely cold in there, and it's wild that even in 2025 there's still no food in there except for like pretzels and shit.
Yeah. My kid was not happy about that.
Yeah,
potato chips. That's all we could get our hands on in there.
Sounds like a ICP concert.
But you know what? For as many tickets as they distributed to all of us locals and podcasters and media crew, you can't complain. You know what I mean? The seats were nice. Everybody got to hang out together. It's a coming together. You know, we got to get.
They looked out, man.
The Ring of Honor stuff was dope. We got close enough to pretty much run the damn soundboard for that.
Shout out to Shane Taylor, bro. You know, we had a good time there. Shout out to Caitlin from AEW for hooking it up. And not only with that interview, but hooking us up so J-Bone and Lily could come out and check out some AEW.
Good time.
Yeah, dude, it was a good time. And then there was our boy Shane Taylor and the Pool Hustler.
Yeah, you want to tell that story on here?
I mean, there ain't nothing wrong with it because Shane didn't get hustled. So
Shane knows what's up. He knows.
Yo, so for context, we went and linked up with our guy Shane T. Shout out to Shane Taylor and Shane Taylor Promotions. Go over there to Temple Bar. We're all chilling, having a good time, and Shane wanted to play pool. Well, next thing you know, here comes. When I tell you this man looked like Pee Wee Herman, had khaki pants on, had the plaid shirt with it all tucked in, had Skechers on too. And so we're just getting ready to start playing pool, and here comes this guy, and he's like, "So what are we playing for? What are we playing for?" And Shane's immediately like, "Homie, you're giving away your hustle right now." You know what I mean? And of course, this guy acts like he doesn't know how to play, but misses a couple shots, but still managed to win both games. And then this lady comes up and starts trying to like be all flirty when we all knew what time it was. You know what I mean? I swear that shit was a hustle. And then the guy that's sitting at the bar ends up leaving with the guy. And so after they play 2 games, the guy goes, "Where's the best strip club in town?" Mind you, this is at like 1 o'clock in the morning. This whole thing was just like,
oh yeah, hustling 101, man.
this guy looked like he had no business in Detroit, and then pulls some shit like that. It was just interesting, and I'm laughing because I'm like, Shane would kill this guy.
Right. Right. Yeah, you don't want to get on his bad side, dude.
Shane knew what it was. He told him right away. He's like, you ain't taking no money from me, dog. Like,
That's funny shit.
so yeah, it was a good time. All in all, I thought both shows were good. I thought what we got from Tony Storm was awesome.
Oh yeah. Great.
Lily was losing her mind with Tony Storm coming out. I liked what we saw from Hangman and Will Ospreay on Wednesday. And Will Ospreay's promos have gotten a lot better in AEW.
Yeah, I would agree.
And then you got and then you had the what the hell was that? The stuff with MJF and the Hurt Business, and MJF just coming out and laying somebody out. So
that's getting interesting. I'm digging that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm really interested to see where that goes next. Shout out to MJF and the Hurt Business. I'm digging that. Then you had Backlash, bro. So
Loved it. I've seen a lot of haters online saying that it wasn't up to par. It wasn't built enough. They didn't build, like, whatever, dude. You can hate all you want, but anytime you get last stages of like one of the greatest rivalries all time, Randy Orton and John Cena, you're watching.
And it was a good match,
it was a
dude.
Great match. Keep in mind, these are not the guys from 20 years ago. You know, these guys ain't no spring chickens. These guys are on the backside of their career. 2 legends, Hall of Famers going at it. And for what it was, dude, it was a great story in the ring. They told a great story in wrestling. Maybe there wasn't no big spots and crazy bumps and all the stuff like we used to get, but for the end of that rivalry, the last time, I thought it was great. Loved it.
Yeah, dude, I thought it was great. And then like the fact that, and then what he did to R-Truth at the press conference.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that to R-Truth? Damn it.
I know it. They could make so much. There's so much.
Oh, dude, they're going to boo the shit out of Cena at Saturday night's main event, dude.
Yeah, that's going to be great. And so that's not stamped in for sure, but that's like the rumor, right? R-Truth and
I fucking
Cena.
hope so.
I do too. I think
if anyone listens to anything I said, please book that.
I hope that's the case. I've been seeing a lot of rumors swirling about it.
I'm totally down for that. Shout out to R-Truth.
Shaping up to be a really good show.
Shout out to R-Truth. R-Truth follows us. You should follow us too. Let's see. What do we got? Our Backlash was legit. The last match for those 2 guys was awesome. Could have done without the second ref interference, but yes, exactly. It told a story that had to end, and it did just fine. I agree. I agree with that, bro. Like all in all, the whole thing. And then can we talk about the way that Jeff Cobb showed up? Shout out to the homie Jacob Fatu, which I will say it until I'm blue in the face. All gas, no brakes. I think it's dope what they're doing with Jacob Fatu. But Jeff Cobb in WWE, son of a bitch.
You love to see that. You love seeing those guys that you've been following, man, and the guys have been putting in the work finally make it like that. Especially in the storyline that he's in. You know what I mean? He's thrown right into the fire, man. If anything, he's making that better. I'm with it.
So what do you think happens now? Do you think Solo and Cobb are going to go heel, and then they're just going to turn Jacob Fatu full babyface?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be nice if they could let Jacob dig in his bag. Like, to think about all the wars that Jacob Fatu and Jeff Cobb had, like MLW and everywhere else. I mean, these guys have history, dude. These guys have had bangers.
Oh, and he shared that right away. Like the fact that we live in a time where WWE is acknowledging what's happened with people outside of here, please give me Jeff Cobb versus Jacob Fatu, please.
Yeah, so
Corey, to give you a hint, Jacob Fatu has been not Jacob Fatu. Jeff Cobb has been a huge star over in Japan. If I'm not mistaken, was he an Olympic wrestler?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I believe he was for Guam. Like, dude's fucking huge. Just wrecks people.
He's like just a short little ball of a muscle, dude.
And he just chucks people. Like they call him the Super Samoan dude. Like, and then the matches between him and Jacob Fatu, like an MLW and shit like that, dude. Take my fucking money, please.
I hope they acknowledge that somehow. I hope they use that in the storyline.
Man, in the WWE,
what the hell's he doing here? Why you bring him here? You know the history there. You know what I mean?
I hope so.
I think I hope so. I would assume by what? What do you think? What do you think? SummerSlam? Maybe we'll get Jacob Fatu and Solo or one of those.
I think they're gonna slow burn a little bit to like Solo and Jacob kind of like beefing a little more.
We still gotta get through Saturday night's main event. We still gotta get through what Money in the Bank, and then it'd be SummerSlam, correct?
Yeah, I'm with that 100%. And how about Penta? That dude, Pentagon has been money
Penta's
for years.
Gold. Absolute gold, dude. It might have one of the dopest entrances in WWE right now, too.
Him and Phoenix's entrance are both bad.
Penta's entrance just gets me going, dude. I'm like,
they're like the most superhero entrances, bro. Yes, which, speaking of entrances, for those of you who are MMA fans and pro wrestling fans in here, shout out to our homies over at the Bob Culture Podcast. I got to interview Daria Baronato, formerly known as Sonya Deville, in the Invictus 62 press conference earlier today, so make sure you check it out. And one of the things I asked her about was that what did she think about the integration of them making more of the stages like you used to have in the old UFC and obviously in wrestling, to have more of the pageantry with the entrances. I think it would make fights look so much more badass. I really do. And she agreed. She said the only thing is if they did that, then people would really have to back it up when they get in the cage, which, again, I agree. I'm cool with that. But I just think that it would make it look badass.
I'm sure we're going to spin into it later, but look at how much of that added in that JDM walkout when it was TNT. Right.
If you had the pyro and shit like with WWE and like the video behind it, come on, bro. That shit's badass.
I'm sure it's on the table, dude.
Even when we were on the commentary booth this last Saturday, I mean, we
check it out on Expectation Sports.
Or may not have got a warning for talking too much about.
We got a warning. I do not own the rights to this music.
Yeah.
Would you get a warning for? Tell me.
I do not own the rights to this music.
We can't.
I can't talk about people's walkouts anymore.
Yeah, I think when they're showing the fights live, they play the music, but I think when they play them back on the replays, they dub over the music. So they don't want us to be commentating. Can't mention
it.
Totally made sense, but I was just trying to use it as like the filler, you know?
It's totally it's the only glimpse into these fighters' personality. And that's why I truly agree with what you're saying, Kyle, not to just spin this into MMA immediately, but it really does add such an element, because it's like, what's their choice of mood to try to implement on this crowd before they go, put on this show? So I feel like it really is a big thing, and if you can, the more you can do to actually put that on display, I feel like it really adds something.
I agree.
See,
Makes total sense.
like I said, you got to make sure you check that out again. Shout out to Pop Culture Podcast for the connect on that one. Shout out to Ross, Invicta, TNA, all them. Appreciate you. But with that being said, we talked about those matches. To Art's point, yes, the Pentagon match with Dom Mysterio was nuts. And then we saw what we saw with Seth Rollins and all the stuff with him and CM Punk and all that as well. What did you think about that, J-Bone?
From Raw, well, I thought it was great. I thought it was put together great. I love that we're finding ways to keep the Seth Rollins CM Punk rivalry going, because I was kind of concerned where it was going to head after WrestleMania. But hey, we got more questions than we got answers at the end of that show. They need a third man, and I don't know if this is going to play out to where a lot of people are saying Sammy's the third guy in that group. Sammy's going to pull a double cross. We'll see. I wouldn't be upset if it was Sammy, but because I feel like there's so much more that he could pull off, especially as a heel. But I'm also hoping that it's just somebody that we just didn't even think about. You know what I mean?
I'm with that. I still say that Drew McIntyre would be an interesting one.
I heard I heard he got pretty messed up in that match on Saturday, which was a banger. I heard he took the choke slam and completely missed the table. So his head bounced off the floor, literally, is what I read.
Bounce like a basket ball.
Hopefully he's doing well, because that would suck.
That's not.
I'm really hoping they bring in Bronson Reed, though, dude. Like I
would love that.
I don't know where he's at as far as his ankle injury and when he's available.
Shout out to Bronson Reed. We've gotten to interview him as well. Shout out to bodyslam.net.
There's guys in WWE right now that you could throw into the ring together, and you don't even know if
I'm a big Bronson Reed guy, bro. Let's go with it. I want to see him tsunami the shit out of somebody.
Yeah, I'm down with it. So remains to be seen, man. But they need a third man, and there's a couple ways we can go with it.
Yeah,
I'd
dude,
like
I'm
to see
down.
Drew in it though too. That's a good idea too, I think, because Drew's another guy that has a lot to offer right there in that spot. But we'll see.
Yeah, I'm totally with that. But here's the thing: we also saw on Friday. So like, I don't know if this means they're gonna switch them back to I don't know if it ain't gonna be Goldberg.
Who said it was
It ain't gonna be fucking Goldberg.
No.
Get out of here, dude.
No. Hey, you know what?
You're talking about odd
we're calling
couple.
for Goldberg to show up in the Pat McAfee Gunther situation. I guess that's fitting. Kyle, you know me and my thoughts on Goldberg.
Favorite wrestler ever, right?
Yeah, favorite.
That guy might be one of them that's just like love hate, bro. Like for real. Like,
dude, I listen. For anybody who hasn't known me speaking on Goldberg, like I don't mind him 10, 15, 20 years ago. The last match should have been the last match twice now. You almost killed The Undertaker in Saudi. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate everything you've done and everything that's happened, all your matches, but it's just time to go and go forever.
Come on, man.
And not to mention
he's already coming back 2025, bro.
I don't
Time
want
to
that.
come break some more necks and cash some checks,
dude.
bro. What you mean?
Okay, Kyle, think of this though. In 2025, and this is from a wrestling fan standpoint, if Goldberg gets in the ring with Gunther, are you cheering for Goldberg? Because even if I just take away the hate for Goldberg, I don't think I'm cheering for Goldberg at this point.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
That's a fair point, but
I can't see it. I can't see the wrestling world, especially in the arenas, cheering Goldberg over Gunther right now. I just can't see that happening.
that's a fair point. I could see that.
Plus, he injured Bret Hart. Fuck him.
But now
God, I hope I
that
never
J-Bone
run into
has gotten his aggression out,
I hope I never run into him because I am screwed.
cheer for the ref. That's who you cheer for. You cheer for the ref. You heard him. You cheer for the ref.
Refs deserve love too out there.
Hell yeah! All hail the ref.
Yeah.
But with that being said, Corey, I was yapping my mouth on a microphone on Saturday night for MMA fights. Shout out to past guest of the show, Devin Smith, getting himself a second round arm triangle submission. Really looking good. I don't know if Reese hurt his leg or what happened, but good performance for Devin. Shout out to George Watkins, dude. That kick that he landed on Zane Corey was something else and split that man. I mean, Zane Corey still got the dub, but damn.
Yeah.
That one was like insta blood, and he came up and you're just like, damn, that opened him up like that because he got cut up in two different places. That one was pretty gnarly. And then what were some of your other highlights for that?
I mean, first, since you brought up that Zane Court, that was like, I feel like it's like a common theme for like some of these wrestler guys, man, to like deal with some real adversity super early in the first round like that, and then find a way to have to persevere with just a faucet off their face for the next 2 rounds, and it's like that's what we seen this last Saturday is, he was leaking. It was I don't even think they allowed the first round to stop before they brought the doctor in to check the cut to see if the fight could continue. Fight did continue. He was able to implement what he needed to your point, Kyle, to kind of, I don't want to say play it safe because he was still going in there fighting, advancing positions, looking for a finish and stuff, but he was able to do what he had to do to keep himself in the fight, keep the doctor out of it, even after a second doctor, call to the ring. He was able to get the finish via decision, and it ultimately was just a super entertaining fight, man. I really that one to me was like one of those typical stories that you get to play, you see play out many times over, but it's always cool when you get to actually see him in person,
Absolutely, man. That was a fun fight. Shout out to Ethan Pauly getting himself another dub in the co-main event. Mikey Kowalski coming back and getting himself a dub off a 3-year layoff. That Eric Reeves fight was very interesting to me. He's blown through everybody and then comes through and had to fight and still ended up getting the finish in the 3rd round, I believe. So I think that was go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that might have very well been the crowd fight of the night. They were.
Oh, dude, that kid brings out a crowd every time, and they are rowdy for that dude.
Yeah, and like you say, to go from being a first-round finisher notoriously, you hear John Anik all the time talk about these, up-and-coming prospects and stuff, and he's like, yeah, he's on an 8-fight win streak. 9 of which are by first round KO or first round submission or whatever, and it's like, it really is an impressive stat, but it also leads a lot to mystery because you don't know if the fight even plays past that second, into that second bell. Are you even there? Are you the same fighter at all? And ultimately what we were able to see in that one is, he played more to a game plan typically than he does in most of his fights and still worked out very successfully for him. So to see him be able to go through what he did and persevere through those rounds without much issue. And if my mind's not slipping right now, that was 5 rounds, right?
It was a 5-round fight, but he finished him.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just the way he went through it, though, is what I'm saying. Like, he didn't look for that first round, just immediate blow through like what we've seen from him in the past.
I mean, he tried, but
yeah.
Shout out to his opponent. That was a hell of a fight there. And then we had UFC 315, man. We had a damn good fight between Jose Aldo and Zahabi, and we've got the re-retirement of Jose Aldo. J-Bone, thoughts on Jose Aldo?
The re-retirement, man. You know what? That's one of those guys you just have to respect, man. He's never done anything to make you like alter your thoughts on Jose Aldo. He's always put up a good fight, always good, entertaining fights. Hey, hopefully this is it for him because I hate to see guys like that lose.
It ain't
You know
like
what I
he
mean?
looked
Like,
bad either.
he didn't look bad, but you don't want nothing tarnished because we've had guys that come back and get washed, dude, and you're just like, okay, you should have just stayed. But Jose is a legend, dude. Legend in the sport, has done it all. So hopefully he just stays retired. Enjoy retirement, man. That's all I could say. You gave us your best and it was appreciated. So
I feel like personally I kind of missed something because of the fact, not because of the fact, of course, but we were calling the fights. That fight was wrapping up as we were, finally getting out of the venue and stuff like that. So I didn't get to actually watch the fight back yet. From what I've heard from every single media outlet and stuff like that, it's just one of those like all-time classic type of Aldo fights. Where it seems like everybody and their brother scored it for Aldo as well. So
I've seen that a lot.
To see it kind of go out in a method, to see him kind of go out in a method where it's like kind of been this consistent theme over his last couple fights where he goes in there against maybe somebody that, even UFC diehards aren't like super heavy on as being like the next big prospect. And then they feed him up against these guys, and it seems to be another one of those stories, unfortunately. And I like Zahabi. I mean, obviously, brother of, TriStar and stuff like that, real famous in the game and stuff like that. But he's already on the back end of his career. Just because he's on a good win streak doesn't mean it's not. It shouldn't have been ultimately what I feel like the Jose Aldo retirement matchup should have been. That being said, shout out to him. I feel like this last run in the UFC wasn't necessarily needed, but that being said, it showcased the fact that he was still that guy. He still brought it in these last 3 fights. They were still, I know he went 1-2 out of the last 3 or whatever, but all of those, including this last one, were kind of murky decisions. You know what I mean? Who won, who didn't. So he's still in there contending with the next, echelon of contenders in the UFC and stuff. So I like to see that he's going out on his own behalf and not because he's getting pushed out the door because he's, getting mopped up with, by these prospects. But shout out Jose Aldo for everything he brought to the game. He really, I feel like, opened a lot of people's minds to those lower weight classes and what they could bring. I know ultimately lost in that Conor McGregor fight, but that was such a big thing in that moment, and I feel like, of course, McGregor being the big star he is, but it wouldn't have been what it was if it wasn't for Jose Aldo and that giant win streak that he had. So shout out him. And, hopefully, like you say, if you want to retire on this one, if you want to do another boxing fight or 2, like he was already kind of pursuing, go ahead. But I feel like do what you want to do now. Don't be in here just fighting prospects to, continue your UFC run.
Yeah.
Be Jose Aldo. You're already that guy,
Jose Aldo is a savage, man. The run that he was on, bro, for so long, like he was mopping up dudes. And the way that he used to, like the fight that he had against Uriah Faber when he just beat the hell out of his leg like that, that might be the worst I've ever seen somebody's leg get beat up to the point where this dude couldn't even barely walk anymore. Jose Aldo is the king of Rio, flat out legend. Like, there's not anything you can say. And the fact that he's still contending with these young bucks at the age that he is, if Jose Aldo would have went to 135 even 5 years ago, dude, he would have done some serious damage over there too. So like I said, I have nothing but respect for Jose Aldo. I'm kind of at the point I hope that he's done with it, unless it's like some kind of specialty fight or whatever. But all in all, got to give credit where it's due. Jose Aldo is the man. All right. Now we got to talk about Valentina, bro. Valentina wins again. She won by another decision. But I mean, look, bro, you keep setting them up. She keeps knocking them down. She's the first person that I can think of off the top of my head that's got enough defenses to where they don't even have enough room to put rubies on her belt anymore.
Yeah.
Like, here's a question, and I mean, I guess this is the best way you can put this, because I mean, shout out to Manon Farrow. You know, she did her thing too, but I mean, again, like we were just saying with Jose Aldo, Valentina's still taking out them young bucks too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to call it what it is. Do you think that because Valentina lost to Amanda Nunes, do you think that there's any chance that she can ever be considered the GOAT? Or do you think that because she lost to Amanda, that kind of screws it up? Because the only reason I ask that is because when you really think about it, you know, Valentina started way before all of them and is still going and is still champion now. So, just a thought. What do you think, J-Bone?
That's tough, man. But no, I don't think it tarnishes anything. I mean, like you said,
I'm not saying tarnishing it. I'm saying,
she was
do you
here.
think that she could be considered the best, or do you think
I
because
do.
of those losses?
I think so. Yeah, because she's dominating these women, right? And yeah, she has that one loss to Amanda Nunes, which arguably is the GOAT also. But like you said, she's still going, and she was here before them. So I think it's hard to argue that she's not the GOAT. You know what I mean? But you're always going to have those fans that are going to back that up. And it's just one of those arguments that'll never go away. But it is what it is.
I mean, like you mentioned in your, I guess, argument or question, is you know, she lost it in the head-to-head matchup, which of course is a huge argument, and that's why I feel like when you look at like the total runs and stuff, you could probably say Cyborg was ultimately a better fighter than Amanda Nunes,
but she even started before Cyborg.
That's what I'm getting at here is I feel like Valentina, if you look back at that fight, Valentina was the much smaller woman. I really wish they would have. I know they were rumbling about making that matchup again for the third time. I really wish it would have ended up happening, honestly, because like their initial two in the beginning were when they were so young in their career, and I feel like with Valentina having her huge run and Amanda Nunes ultimately having hers as well, I feel like we could have really seen something there. But nonetheless, I feel like with what you were saying, J-Bone, as well, the continued success over just a multitude of different opponents and styles, and continuing to be able to, at one point she was just like this vicious knockout artist that like you almost didn't question if she was going to get the finish. It was like, is somebody going to be able to last with her?
Yeah.
And now as she's gotten a little older and transitioned throughout her career, she's not quite that anymore, but she's still this like nearly unstoppable force that just kind of implements her will on these girls and finds a way, to get these rounds in her, favor, where it seems like Father Time's starting to want to pull on her a little bit, and she's just not allowing it. She's going in there and she's putting on successful title defenses against, the next who's who. I know, like, I'm going to butcher that French name, but Manon Farrow.
Nailed it.
Yeah. two thumbs on that one. But no, I mean, like, she ran through everybody. I mean, look at what she did in her last one against Erin Blanchfield. I was like, oh, this is for real going to be like a tough matchup for Valentina. And it was. I mean, ultimately, look at most of the judges' scorecards. I believe 2 out of the 3 scored it so that it was 2-2 going into the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, I feel like, and I've heard the argument made on a couple of the podcasts breaking down the fight, Pride Rule style, she was well ahead in that fight. She was winning in pretty much every exchange. She was winning the grappling exchanges. There was just moments in those rounds where it was like, it could have been, either way. And that's what we ultimately ended up seeing on the scorecards. But it was like, she was clearly the one winning that fight. So to continue to be able to do that against these up and coming prospects, the Boogie women's of the division, and Joanna back in the day and stuff, and just like to see what she's done. It would not surprise me at the end of the day if she gets 2-3 more title defenses and then ends up being the then GOAT of women's
I can see
MMA.
that.
Hell yeah. Last but not least, that brings us to a new champion, dude. We've got
surprising champion.
I thought Bilal Muhammad was gonna win. I said I thought Bilal Muhammad was gonna win, but dude, before we get to how good JDM looked, and for those of you guys who are watching us on Body Slam, you guys got the NXT post show is coming your way here in a couple minutes. Those watching us on Knockouts and 3 Counts and Not Millions, we still got a few more things to talk about in the MMA sphere of things, but don't ever let me hear somebody say that Bilal Muhammad is a boring fighter again, because he had a hole in his lip, a broken orbital, and was still throwing, and he busted JDM up too.
Mm-hmm.
JDM looked like he got his ass whooped after that fight too.
Yep.
So
I've seen the argument
yes,
made.
sir, Detroit, man.
Yet again, and I keep
Let's go Tigers.
3 in a row. But no, I've seen the argument made a lot of places that he just didn't implement his style, and I feel like that's kind of what I ultimately felt like pulling away from that fight too. Is he allowed JDM to dictate too much in that fight, and it didn't. I don't know if it was nerves. I don't know if it was overlooking. If it was like me, even I felt like this was going to be a run through. I think I even said that on the episode last week when we were breaking it down with Devin Smith. I said I feel like this is probably going to be a rundown and a showcase type of fight for Bilal. It was not. It was not at all. Not at all. And what we've seen in JDM to kind of up his takedown defense and his ability to keep the fight on the feet and just really, like I say, implement his game and keep the game at his striking distance, maintain the center of the octagon and stuff. There was so much good that he did in that fight. And I feel like for Bilal Muhammad, there was so much that like he was going for it. He was sending it. You're right, Kyle. Broken orbital, split lip, didn't matter. He was not willing to give up on himself at any given point. That being said, he wasn't necessarily implementing his best fight at all.
Oh no!
And
if he would have tried to start wrestling like earlier in the fight, I think that fight probably would have ended differently.
Even if it was just pressure, if it's just the cage pressure.
I mean, just putting that
like,
pressure on him instead of trying to box with him. I just think that he had that championship confidence that he just thought he was going to beat Jack Della at his own game. And I mean, Jack Della showed that Jack Della's got what it takes, dude. I mean, Jack Della was landing nasty shots. The fact that Bilal wasn't able to take him down through most of that fight, and he was able to stop and goad Bilal into fighting how he wanted to fight. I mean, that's another thing that can't be understated. You'd have thought anyone who had half a brain would have said they thought that Bilal was going to wrestle with him. And I mean, it was what it was. I got all the respect in the world for Bilal. I just hope that he gains fans with this and that they don't put him through some crazy-ass thing to get back to the title. But, I mean, hey, dude, Bilal proved that he's a dog, dude. If you didn't already know it before, which I don't know how you didn't, I mean, Bilal showed what time it is and showed that he's about that life. All right. Now, with that being said, we got a few headlines to talk about outside of here before we get out of here. You've got Islam Makachev is vacating the 155 title, and I'm assuming is going to be going for the 170 title, which would involve Mr. Jack Della. And now, in its place, Ilia Topuria is going to fight Charlie Oliveira for the vacant lightweight title.
Charlie Olives.
I love how that nickname is just stuck. Like I think Dan Hooker said it in like one submission.
That's
Yeah,
a good one.
yeah, one submission underground video, and it's just been like the theme. Like it's like he should just have fucking Bruce Buffer introduce him. Like, like
Yeah, at least once.
yeah. I mean, honestly, it's such a great like it fits in perfectly, and it's just like
We almost got the Jim fucking Miller thing from Bruce.
Yeah.
But so why can't we get this?
But yeah, this one would at least get some good laughs. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But that being said, I mean, great matchup. I do think it takes a B side to what would have been, Topuria versus Makachev. But that being said, still a really great fight. Still feel like Dubronx is one of those guys in the division where he's like the top guy that can also lose in a fight and still beat the next top guy. So I feel like it's a really good proving ground, I guess we'll call it, for Topuria. For Charlie Olives, it's a great chance to go in there against a guy that potentially is smaller than you and go in there and, with somebody who has, if I'm not mistaken, the most submissions in the division. Like, he has a good chance.
He's got the most submissions in UFC history, I think.
Yeah. Is that what it? I knew it was. I knew he had some.
I believe he's got the most submissions in UFC history. But here's my thing with this, right? So, like, I look at this both ways. On one hand, I feel like there's a lot of opponents for Islam at 155, but at the same time, to immediately give Topuria a welterweight or a lightweight championship fight and being the second guy that's just going to come right up from 145 to fight him. And what does it really do for Islam, realistically? While I think that that's the better fight, but what does it realistically do for him? Because now, if he wins, you were supposed to win. If he loses, you lost to the guy coming up from 145. So I could see where he would be like, yo, like, I already did this twice with Volk, and I told you I wanted to fight for the 170 belt, and I didn't because Bilal was there. Well, now Bilal is not champion. So, unfortunately, even though I don't think Jack Della gives a shit, the UFC, I feel like, almost kind of has to, like, pay the piper on this one in a way. And I mean, no disrespect to Topuria. I'm not saying I got any problem with him getting a shot at the title, and he's going to get a shot at the vacant title here. But I think Islam's got a point, realistically.
No, I agree.
I mean, he didn't out and out say that, but I'm just saying, when you think about it.
No, he did, actually. He came out, I forget what the media outlet, I think it was him in D.C.
Okay, then that's what it was.
He literally said, pretty much word for word what you're saying is the fact of, I've already defended against a 45er twice. I want to see him come in the division and fight a prospect. To your point, I myself also want to make the move up, but am waiting for that opportunity. Now, of course, the opportunity has presented itself. Like I was saying before, surprisingly or not, to see JDM kind of become this guy and now dethrone the champ and stuff. It's the perfect opportunity for him to move up. And 170 also has a ton of prospects that are biting, and Sean Brady's, Ian Gary's. There's a bunch of guys that are like right there, super close to the belt and stuff. But at the same point, who doesn't want to see it? It's one of them matchups where it's like, I'm not mad about it. I feel like he does kind of deserve, if he's going to move up, with being the rightful number one pound for pound. We've seen him.
If he would have had to fight Topuria, although I think it would have been a great fight. Like, if you're Islam at that point, even though they're not 55, even though they're not 55 defenses technically, like, dude, at that point, do you kind of got to give him the title shot? No, because, like, I mean now you've had him fight a guy who's coming up 3 times, and you're telling me that I can't
Yeah.
I can't do the same thing.
Yeah, I don't get one shot. Yeah. No, like I say, it's hard to disagree with that point. It's hard to disagree with also the argument because I myself have made it too. Islam was so much bigger than Volk. He was also going to be substantially bigger than Topuria. It was going to be one of those matchups where every time they faced off, every time they did anything, essentially, it was going to be he's the bigger guy. He's, undefeated for X many years, has been the champion. I seen somebody posted a thing, I think it was on Twitter. He's once the actual fight takes place and he gets stripped, he'll be like 980 days as champion in the division. So it's not every day that you get a run that long from somebody.
He
to your point,
hasn't fought a lot, but
yeah, but I feel like he's fought every rightful contender though. There hasn't been a guy at 155 other than maybe Arman, who he beat already just 5-6 years ago or whatever though. So to me, I got no argument with him moving up. I have no argument with him kind of dodging the Ilia fight or however you want to word it, because it's going to be, like you say, one of those fights where shoulda, coulda, woulda, even if you lose. So,
Right.
at a certain point, UFC has to meet him in the middle, or
it makes interesting matchups in both divisions too, with both of them moving up. I just wish we would have got the big. I feel like it's the cherry that's getting cut in half so that two people can have a cherry on their banana split. You know what I mean? It's like it's not like just what I mean. Like we've
been talking about food a lot tonight.
Like,
olives and cherries and bananas.
Yeah.
Where we going?
If you get what I'm saying there, it's like it was so close to being a whole, but now it's like it's still entertaining and it still adds a layer of spice to both things, but it's like not quite a whole anymore. Yeah.
All right. The other fight, which hopefully, I'm just saying, Corey's always saying he wants to go to UFC. Quit being a bitch. We need to go to Chicago.
Yeah, better not be no $700 tickets.
Fucking, you got Khamzat Chimaev versus Duplessis is going down in Chicago.
I seen that.
I like that fight.
Me too.
But I still think that Khamzat's going to destroy him.
Dude's a killer, bro. He's a killer.
Now,
but
I want this on record in that I think if it goes past round 3 or halfway through round 3, Khamzat could be in trouble. I really do believe that. But I think it's going to take a lot for DDP to weather the first 3 rounds with that guy. I just think, and let's not forget, this is at 85, not 70, so he's not killing himself to make the weight either.
After seeing what he did to Whitaker, I will never doubt
He broke his fucking jaw with the neck crank.
Whitaker's one of those guys that one of my favorites, that he's just so well-rounded. He's so hard to get out of there unless you just catch him with a huge punch or something. The way Israel did in their first fight, if you just sleep him because you catch him while he's doing one of his, quick jolts in or something, sure. Other than that, he's one of those guys that seems like he's just impossible to get out of there. He gets victories over everybody. And the way that Khamzat just ran through him that night and just made him look like he wasn't even an opponent that was on his level just hurt my feelings so much. But it made me know that you can't doubt him. And even though I feel like you can't doubt what DDP's done to
I don't at all. I think he's proven he's for real, but dude, Khamzat's scary.
Yeah, exactly. That point exactly is I feel like there's DDP has been very surprising because you're I don't feel like maybe he, we've heard it a million times. He doesn't really look like he's that good. Oh, he just lands with big power. Oh, he just but as we've seen him kind of do this to more and more guys, we start to respect what he actually brings as a skill set and what he's able to do with said skill set. That being said, he ain't fighting like Hamzat has been. You know, like he just makes it look like it's easy work for him against like top level guys. The only one that gave him a real run for his money was Kamaru Usman, and I feel like it's
That was
still
at 172, just for the record.
absolutely. And I feel like it wasn't. It was. I don't. That fight was weird, even though it was like. It wasn't a normal version of Kamzat. As stupid as that sounds, I feel like he improved, or he like took that fight as like a break almost. Like that was still him, but it wasn't like his top performance by any means. And I don't know if it was just opponent or whatever the case, but to see what he did against Whitaker yet again, he's real hard to deny. That's for sure.
Like I said, man, I got all the love in the world for Bobby Knuckles. I'm just saying it right here and now, though. Like, Kamzat's a bad motherfucker, dude.
He's a killer, bro. Hey, I just want to circle back around because I fact checked this. Charlie Olive's the most finishes in UFC history and submission finishes.
Oh,
nice.
Both.
And I don't think anybody's coming close anytime soon. So just wanted to have our facts straight for you.
Both I like it. But yeah, man. That's those are all nasty fights. The last one that we got to talk a little bit about, Patchy Mix is gone from the PFL.
Can I jump in real quick on this? I mean, because they just are burning all their fucking bridges right now.
Oh yeah, this is Corey's corner right here. This is Corey's special.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pumping up all these organizations for so long. I feel like of like trying to give them their little shine. I know it's we're an hour into the show and shit, and this is usually when it gets brought up.
Mondo needs to win that belt.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it's an open belt. Good for him.
Mondo win that belt.
I mean, love Mondo.
El Toro.
No disrespect at all. But
play the El Toro song.
When you have your biggest like 5-6 prospects from a whole organization that you swallowed or it brought in their whole roster, and you're just gonna dwindle out these guys' careers, not put them in any fights that you could have put them in layup fights against fucking pancakes, and just made the fans happy that they got to see some of their like top champs in their mind go in there and defend their belt. Instead, you just squandered their career for the last year and a half since this acquisition's been like a thing. And now the only way that these guys get fights is if they literally go on a show or something like that and beg, basically say that I don't know what PFL's doing. They have to basically spill all the beans, and then I don't know what happens, but then they get thrown on some card that gets no publicity 3 months later. I love the fact that PFL was I feel like I want to say was a thing, because what they're doing now, man, is just like how are you letting go of your top guys that you have under contract without even putting them through the fights that you have on contract? It's not like you guys aren't trying to. They literally just talked about they're doing an expansion thing and moving into the Pacifica region to put on more like PFL Africa, but this time I think called PFL Meza fight, whatever the fuck that is. Like you guys are investing money in the absolute wrong portions of it, and it's just I don't understand what they're doing and what their thought process is behind it whatsoever. I know I'm just sounding like I'm ranting on it, but it's absolutely fucking terrible. It really is like the worst possible way that I could see an MMA organization be like pushed through to lose another prospect, another top level, like up and coming guy that you could have literally made a potential star under your organization and just let him go because you didn't want to pay him 250 or something. It's like, but you're investing all your money in just dumb stuff. This is like PFL 101 in the last year and a half, and like to your point, Kyle, shout out El Mando Toro. Wish him nothing but the best. And I really mean that wholeheartedly. Glad to see him back on the win track. Glad to see him in the tournament. Hope that it works out well
Just
for
for
him.
the record, there's also something very impressive.
I also hope that PFL can find their way to work through this and maybe build their own stars. We started to see it with like the Dakota Decheva and stuff like that, but then they sat her on ice for 6 months and then did what I was just saying earlier, where she had to go beg, and now she's on some random card that the only reason why they're talking, people in the MMA sphere are talking about it, is because she had to beg to get on it. So, like, I wish nothing but the best for the organization, but man, mismanagement left and right, losing your potential guys. I mean, Aaron Pico just a month ago, Patchy Mix, today, it's just
I was going to say, you're
bonkers
forgetting
to
one.
me.
What about Pitbull?
I feel like Pitbull at least made sense. He's an older guy at the little bit
He's
of it.
still
at
one of
the
the
end of his
biggest
career.
names they got from Bellator.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I'm not disputing that fact, but from what I've heard, his contract was actually like $1 million plus per fight. Okay, cool. I'm not arguing that fact, but I'm saying if you don't want to pay somebody that's 38 to do that,
I
sure.
get that from
But
a business
when
point
you're
of view.
talking about all of their like 30, 33, 34, 35 prime age talent, like they've worked their whole career to get to this point, and you're not even going to fight them. You're not even going to showcase these guys. You're not even going to give them the chance to lose that luster that they've worked so hard to build up. It's just like, it infuriates me as a fan of the organization, as somebody who's tried on this show multiple times to give them light and say, hey, you should check out fucking random PFL tournament, this Thursday. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I kind of quit doing that because, like, honestly, if they ain't gonna fucking promote themselves, I'm not gonna do it for them. You know what I mean?
I'll promote Mondo winning the motherfucking
look at this. We're getting a lot of emotion out of Corey right now. He's pissed.
because this
Somebody
like,
pissing
let
his
him know,
Cheerios.
Corey.
dude.
Let him know.
It showcases like just such a like it's business suits in the place where like people that need to make, you need to have people that actually know how to make decisions to run an MMA organization in those spots, making those decisions, and not just like executives that think that if we expand to another market, that's what'll get us traction. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I am ranting on it because it hurts me inside.
Let them know, dog. That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes you gotta let it loose, Corey. Let them know. Let them know how you feel. They ain't gonna hire you or nothing anymore, but
they never
Art
were.
says he doesn't even watch MMA and he feels Corey's pain.
Hey, man, when you're passionate about something, sometimes it spills over, and that's okay.
You're not wrong, dude. Ultimately, I hope Patchy Mix ends up in the UFC. I'm glad Pitbull ended up in the UFC. I hope PFL survives, dude, because again, our guy Mondo Gutierrez is going to win the 135 title, and then
Viva PFL. But
wouldn't it just be cool though if we didn't have to always say like, oh, aren't we glad that they signed to the UFC? Can't we wouldn't it just be cool if we could just say more. like what you guys do all the time with AEW and TNA and shit? Like, look at who they just signed and who is now making a splash and revitalizing their whole fucking career and getting fans behind them.
Look at the points on Corey.
He's got a great point. Let's go.
I mean,
I'm with them. Yes.
It's
to your point, that would be nice. That would be nice.
I don't know.
The more places for fighters to fight, the better, I think.
Yeah.
Look at the points on Corey. Well, I think that we have hit most of our bullet points for tonight's show. For all you guys who are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the talks, Body Slam, millions. We need millions and millions of followers.
Would be nice. You could hear more dumb shit come out of this mouth.
I'm just saying.
Make sure you run them numbers up. But
yeah, dude. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We got some more heat coming your way. Just know that there have been some shots shot. We're just gonna leave it at that. Make sure you guys stay tuned. You never know who might be joining us in the other end of that box. Art, we appreciate you. Make sure you guys, like I said, check us out every Tuesday and Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern. And let's go Tigers. I'm going to be at the damn Tigers game on fucking Wednesday. Let's get it.
Let's go.
So whoever said that, yes, Detroit, let's fucking go.
Let's go, baby.